Hey guys, good evening. Welcome to episode number 59 of 10-Minute Kick-Ass Coaching. I'm on my way home, just left the studio, doing some rehearsal stuff for the show I'm doing a fill-in for on Sunday. And I'm headed to the Millennium Music Conference tomorrow to speak on a panel. And really what I wanted to go over was kind of some of the things I'm going to be talking about tomorrow at the music conference, and some of the things that I think are very, very important in both the parallels between the business world and the music world, both which I tend to know pretty well and people have identified with. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a preview of what I'm going to be talking about, obviously, tomorrow. A little bit of a difference, obviously, from where some of the things I'm going to be bringing into place. But some of the most important things are being a person of your word. So I'm going to give you an example. I was involved in doing studio work. If you know what studio work is, it's when somebody hires you to come in and lay bass tracks down or lay guitar tracks down or whatever that happens to be. And they call you and they say, hey, a contractor usually calls you. Similar to a contractor that would call somebody for a job here. The contractor says, hey, I've got an artist, and that artist needs somebody to lay down tracks. Maybe you need to sight read, maybe you don't need to sight read. Really irrelevant, doesn't make much of a difference. So they asked me, you know, can you do the gig? Can you sight read? Can you play these songs? Whatever. You come in and you come in. You work in the studio. Sometimes the artist you're working with is there. Sometimes they're not. But it got me thinking. A lot of people think you have to be the best at what you do, the absolute greatest of all time as a musician to get these shows, get these gigs, to get this studio, and it's just not true. Now, you do have to be proficient. You got to know your stuff. You got to know what you can play, what you can't play. You got to know if you're hired to do a vocal track, you understand the structures of the scale and structures of the song and or whatever the chord pattern is or chord structures to play the song. You have to understand. You have to be competent in what you do. There's just no question about that. You'll never survive. They'll have you out of the studio faster than you started. But you don't necessarily have to be the best. But you do have to be really, really well liked. You have to be somebody that is a go-to person, that can be relied on, that can have somebody that can handle the job, essentially, that can also work with other musicians, work with other people in the studio. So the myth is you have to be the best, and that's just bullshit. It doesn't happen. What you've got to be is the go-to person. You've got to be perceived as the person that can get the job done. I was never, and I mean never, the best musician for the job in any session work I ever did. It didn't make a difference. I had to be really likable. I had to really be able to work with the other musicians. I had to be able to listen, 2 ears, 1 mouth, to what other people were saying and really capture what they wanted out of the song. A producer's working with you, an engineer's working with you. The producer says, hey, I really want this, I want this. Great. Hey, Paul, there's another fellow musician on here. You have to understand what's right for the part of the song. If you're a bass player, in fact, you have to understand what the pocket means. You have to understand what you have to do, that less is more. It doesn't matter if you can play a bunch of notes, you play a bunch of scales, you could slap on the bass, you could do whatever. It's irrelevant. When you're in the studio, they don't give a shit. They don't care. What they care about is you're coming to do the job they hired you for. That you were referred by somebody that thought you really were the best person for the job, you're the best person for that session, and you came in here and you did it. So being a major sight reader and being analytical, but being an asshole to deal with, pardon my French, is not going to help you. You've got to be somebody they want to work with. That doesn't necessarily mean you've got to be the best person, the best suited person when it comes to a skill and a technical level. That means absolutely nothing. You have to be competent. You have to be able to read if you have to or play the notes. But you do not have to be this superstar, best ever, Jaco Pastorius, if you know who he is on the bass. It's irrelevant. It doesn't make a difference. You've got to be able to do what they hired you to do. So think about that. I'm going tomorrow and I'm going to speak to probably a couple hundred or maybe 1,000 people in a group, and one of the things I'm going to be bringing up is musicians generally are very, very motivated, or they're not very motivated at all. But if you're going to succeed in business, any business life, anything, even as a musician, if you're going to position yourself to have a studio career, have a live recording, be able to person a road dog, then go out and be a backing musician for a major act, you got to have your shit together. And they're going to find out if you have your shit together because they're going to talk to somebody else that knew you had your shit together. Pardon my French. But you've got to be able to do the job and known to be the person that could do the job. And I got to make sure that you can transition, and somebody can transition their thought process from being a great musician to being a great entrepreneur and doing what you say you will do. As I always say, every time without excuses. So making sure you do exactly what you say you're going to do, without a doubt. Don't compromise, don't question. And that's how you get session work. That's how you get great opportunities, no matter whether you're in the music world or the business world. If you are a person that does what you say you will do, you will have opportunities. If you don't, you're gone. Music world is ruthless. It's cutthroat. And if you don't bring exactly what they want, when they want it, you're gone. So give them what they want. Just like your regular customers. Give them exactly what you want. Or what they want, my apologies. Find out what they want, give it to them, and do it every single time. Don't be inconsistent. You're inconsistent as a musician, you'll never get any work, and nobody will want to work with you. Nobody will want to hire you. I got this thing as a fill-in because I'm seen as competent in doing the job. I know the guitar player, I played with him before, but I was a person that they went to and said, listen, we need a fill-in person. We've got some very, very good shows coming up, very good paying shows, but we need you to be able to do the show. We'd love to have you as a full-time player, but we know you have other obligations. Can you do this session work? Can you do these fill-in gigs? Can you do whatever the case is? So the gig is no different than your job or your career as an entrepreneur. No matter what you do, be a person that is known as reliable, known to be able to get things done, and known to bring all the value that you need. Bring it every single time. When you're a musician, you're playing, you can't have a bad night. Bad night doesn't exist. You got to have your shit together and bring it. And business is no different. And that's one of the things I'm going to be talking about tomorrow at the Millennium Music Conference is it's no different. Just show up, do your job. Sorry, I'm in a little circle here. And bring it every single time. That's simple, guys. That's simple. Just do it. All right. Sorry to drag you out. I see there's a whole bunch of you on the line tonight, so maybe this might be the best time to start doing these things. But thanks for sticking around, and please feel free to comment what your analogies may be, what you think. Again, just a correlation between the music world and the business world. Music world is pretty cutthroat. You got to bring your A game, but your A game doesn't mean you're the best. It means you're just bringing your A game, and you're doing everything you can. All right? Have a great night, guys. Rock and roll. I'm headed to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania tomorrow. Have a good evening. Thanks. Bye.